And tomorrow, Lake Mead's water level is expected to sink to its lowest level since construction of the Hoover Dam.
February 2026. The wind moves quietly across the concrete crest of Hoover Dam. Tourists lean over the railings, cameras raised. The turbines are still spinning. The generators are still humming. But out beyond the dam, something is wrong. Across the cliffs of Lake Mead, a stark white scar wraps around the canyon walls, 140 feet tall. A mineral bathtub ring so wide it looks painted onto the desert. It marks where the water used to be, not decades ago, within a generation. The lake now sits at elevation 1,042 feet above sea level. Full capacity is 1,229 feet. Since 2000, the reservoir has dropped 140 vertical feet, and it has not recovered once in 26 years. This isn't a bad year. It isn't even a drought. It's a system running out of water. And when the water leaves, the dam follows. The illusion of control. For 90 years, Hoover Dam symbolized certainty. Built during the Great Depression and dedicated in 1935 by Franklin D. Roosevelt, the dam was proof that engineering could overpower chaos. It stopped floods. It stored 2 years of river flow. It turned desert into farmland and powered entire cities. Behind its concrete wall, Lake Mead became the largest reservoir in the United States, capable of holding 26.1 million acre-feet of water. For decades, the system worked. Wet years, dry years. The lake rose and fell, but it always rebounded. Then came 2000. That year, Lake Mead sat at elevation 1,182 feet, considered normal operating level. After peaking near full capacity in 1999, the lake began declining. It never stopped. 2005, 1,135 feet. 2010, 1,092 feet. 2015, 1,078 feet. 2020, 1,067 feet. 2026, 1,042 feet. 26 consecutive years of decline. No recovery, no reset. What scientists once labeled a drought is now understood as structural aridification across the Colorado River Basin, the driest sustained period in over 1,200 years of paleoclimate records. The river the dam was designed for no longer exists. The physics no one can negotiate. Hydroelectric dams are simple machines governed by one unbreakable rule. Water falling from height creates pressure. Pressure spins turbines. Turbines generate electricity. At elevation 1,200 feet, Hoover Dam has enormous hydraulic head, the vertical drop between the lake surface and the turbines. But as the lake falls, that head shrinks. At 1,050 feet, power generation begins to struggle. At 1,025 feet, output drops roughly 50%. Below 950 feet, the minimum power pool, turbines cannot operate at all. At 895 feet, dead pool, water can no longer flow through the dam. Today, the lake stands at 1,042 feet, only 17 feet above the level where generation is cut in half. The dam currently produces about 4 billion kilowatt-hours annually, enough to power 1.3 million homes across Nevada, Arizona, and California. At current decline rates, roughly 5 to 6 feet per year, Lake Mead could reach 1,025 feet by 2028. That means half the power. By the early 2030s, full shutdown is mathematically possible. This isn't speculation, it's geometry. The real cost of silence, hydropower from Hoover Dam, is cheap, about 3 cents per kilowatt-hour. Utilities depend on it to keep rates low. If generation drops 50%, replacement power must come from natural gas, solar, or wind, typically costing 2 to 3 times more. For households in Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Southern California, that could mean electricity bills rising $40 to $75 per month permanently. Across 3 states, that's billions in additional annual costs. And it gets worse. Hoover Dam funds itself through power sales, roughly $150 million per year. If generation is cut in half, revenue collapses while maintenance costs remain fixed. Less revenue means deferred repairs. Deferred repairs mean equipment failures. Failures mean less generation. Less generation means even less revenue. It's a feedback loop with no reset button. The dam that once symbolized financial self-sufficiency could require federal subsidies just to operate. The human risk now. Imagine July in Henderson, Nevada. 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Air conditioning isn't comfort, it's survival. Hoover Dam provides baseload power that stabilizes the grid during peak demand. Unlike natural gas plants, hydro turbines respond instantly when demand spikes. Gas plants take 30 minutes to ramp up. That difference matters during a heat wave. If lake levels fall below 1,040 feet during peak summer demand, grid operators could face shortages. Rolling blackouts in extreme desert heat become a real probability. Elderly residents, hospital, infrastructure, all balanced on a lake that keeps dropping. The options no one wants. The Bureau of Reclamation faces 3 paths. Option 1, reduce water releases to preserve elevation competition for power. That forces massive water cuts on cities and farms downstream. Politically explosive, legally tangled. Option 2. Accept declining power generation and replace it with other sources. Higher costs, higher emissions. Permanent rate increases. Option 3. Retrofit the dam's intake systems to operate at lower elevations. Estimated cost, $3 to $5 billion. Construction time, up to 2 years offline. Funding, non-existent. None of these restore the dam to what it was designed to be. None refill the lake. The bigger collapse. Hoover Dam is not just concrete, it is ideology. It represents the 20th century belief that nature could be engineered into submission, that rivers could be partitioned, that water could be allocated forever based on early 1900s flow data gathered during one of the wettest periods in a millennium. The Colorado River Compact divided more water than the river reliably produces. For decades, the gap was hidden by storage. Lake Mead acted as a savings account. Now, the savings are gone. The annual runoff forecast for 2026 shows snowpack at roughly 2/3 of average. River demand remains nearly double projected inflow. The math no longer balances, and dams do not negotiate with arithmetic. A monument to assumptions. Each year, more than 1 million tourists visit Hoover Dam. They walk across its crest. They feel the vibration of spinning turbines. But one day, perhaps in the early 2030s, the turbines may stop. No dramatic collapse, no explosion, just silence. A concrete wall standing over a diminished river. When that happens, the symbolism shifts overnight. The dam will no longer represent conquest. It will represent limits. The white bathtub ring will remain etched into canyon walls, a visible timeline of decline, a memorial to a century that believed water was endless. The unavoidable question, Lake Mead, continues falling, roughly 6 feet per year. Deadpool sits at elevation 895 feet. If current trends persist, that threshold could arrive within the next decade. The turbines still spin today, but they spin slower than they did yesterday, and slower than they will tomorrow. The real question is not whether Hoover Dam can survive another year. It's whether the West can adapt to a river that no longer matches its past. What happens when 1.3 million homes lose their cheapest source of electricity? What happens when desert cities built on abundant water face permanent scarcity? What happens when the greatest engineering achievement of the New Deal era becomes a relic of a wetter century? Hoover Dam is not failing because of catastrophe. It is failing because of mathematics. Because you cannot run turbines without pressure. You cannot create pressure without water. And you cannot store water that does not arrive. The bathtub ring grows wider every year. A 140-foot warning carved into stone. Not of disaster, of assumption. And when the turbines finally fall silent, the question will echo far beyond one dam. If this monument could not outlast the river it was built upon, what else have we built on borrowed water? If you found this video powerful and eye-opening, like the video. And if you want more cinematic, deep-dive stories about water crises, infrastructure collapse, and the hidden forces reshaping our world, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. The next story is already unfolding.